Welcome to Project Doble. So it's that time. I had my current system for 7 years and it's getting to that point where it's not keeping up with me. So it's time for that performance upgrade. Of course, that's going to require me building a brand new system. New parts, new everything. That include upgrading to the latest operating system. But this video is all about the planning stage. I'm going to talk about the components I'm going to use to build this new Hackintosh Workstation, codenamed Doble. So let's get into it. Okay, so now that we're on Apple's website, what I'm looking for as far as my new workstation has to match one of Apple's system that they're offering. So the closest one that I can see is the one that's for about $2,300 because it has the processor that I'm looking for. It has the memory that's configurable up to what I'm looking for, and it has the video card that I'm looking for. So let's select that one. So now that we select that one, we know we have to customize it to get it to the right level for what I am personally looking for. So let's stroll down to the processor area first. What I need is this 8-core 9th generation processor that has a turbo boost up to 5 gigahertz. So I'm going to select that one. Of course, as you can see, the price jumped $400 more. Then I'm going to move down to the memory. I'm looking for at least 64 gigabytes of memory. My current system now that I'm using has 32 gigabytes, so I need to at least go above that instead of matching it, because I want to see the true performance from going from one to another instead of having the same level, for instance. Because right now I have a 4-core and I'm doubling it to an 8-core, so I want to double my memory from 32 to 64. By Apple's price, I'm going to spend $1,000 just to move up to that level. So now that we're down to the graphics, now the graphics card that Apple is offering, the Radeon Pro 580X, is exactly the kind that I'm looking for in my new workstation. So that's perfect. Now as far as the storage, even though Apple is giving you 2 terabyte of Fusion drive, it's a marriage between the regular old hard drive with the spinning disk and an SSD built in. So I don't want any spinning disk. I want my drive to be totally disk free and just flash storage. And that's why I want the SSD, because those to me are much faster. So if I choose to go with this one by Apple's price, I've got to spend $500. So right out the door, I'm looking at $4,200 if I decide to go with a new iMac from Apple. But that's not what I plan on doing. Like I said, I needed to see if it was easier to just buy one or to just build one, because sometimes it's easier to build and sometimes it's easier to buy. It all depends on what's out there on the market. So now let's flip over to what I need to build my Hackintosh if I decided to go that way instead. Based on the price. I haven't seen the price yet, so let's start off with that first. First, I know we're going to need a processor. So the processor that I'm going with is the one that's matching the one that's in the iMac right now, that high one that's 4200. So I'm going to go with the i9, and this one is actually the i9-9900K processor with 8 cores, and it has the 5 gigahertz turbo boost. Then of course, I need a motherboard to support that processor. So the one I choose to go with is the Z390 Designer. And this one supports the 9th and the 8th generation Intel processor, which is exactly what I'm looking for. It has 4 DIMMs, so I can put 4 memory chips in there. And like I said, I'm starting off with 64 gigabyte. So for storage, for my programs and some basic files, because most of my files are stored off the computer anyway. So this one will have basic stuff, but I need room to work as far as loading it up with my Photoshop and my Final Cut and other programs that I use on the computer. The one that I choose to go with is made by Samsung, and it's the 97 Pro SSD card. This is the 1 terabyte version because that's the minimum that I want as far as storage. Now the motherboard that I chose, that I showed you just a minute ago, actually support 2 of these cards. So the RAM is the next key feature that I need as far as building this system. So I'm going to choose 64 gigabytes worth of this RAM, the HyperX, to put in my workstation. Now let's talk about the video card, or the graphic card like some people call it. So this is the Sapphire Nitro Plus Radeon 580X graphic card. And this one technically support 5 displays, or monitors if you want to call it that. Now the next component I'm going to need is the coolant. This coolant is for the CPU because the CPU needs cooling. I mean, you cannot run a processor without having some efficient kind of coolant, because if you don't, the CPU is just going to fry itself. So you have to have the right kind of coolant to keep the system running smooth. And this time I decided to go with the NZT Kraken. Now the next item I'm going to need is a case. This is where all these components is going to take up residence and work together. The case that I choose to go with is made by NZXT, and I'm going with the H700. So the CPU fan that I'm getting to keep the processor cool is going to fit perfectly in this case because it's the same manufacturer. The last item on the list is the power supply. This is what's going to power everything. The CPU, the motherboard, the video card, and everything else that needs power. Now I'm going with the E850, and the 850 stands for the amount of watts that this power supply can handle. So now let's move on to the cost for all of these components that I need to build my workstation. First, let's start off with the CPU. Now the current price at the time of this video for the CPU that I'm looking for my workstation is coming in about $480. The motherboard by Gigabyte, the Z390, is coming in roughly about $270. The total memory of 64 gigabyte that I'm going to need for this workstation is coming in at $686. So even at that price, it's still way less cheaper than what Apple is offering it for at $1,000. The graphic card, the Radeon Nitro Plus RX 580 with 8 gigabytes of memory, is coming in at $209. As far as the storage, I'm going with the 1 terabyte internal SSD that plugs right into the M.2 port, and that's clocking in at $345.90, which Apple was offering theirs for $1,000. To keep the processor cool while I'm doing all that heavy work, I'm going with the NZXT Kraken X72, and this is what it looks like. It has 3 built-in fans, and this little part right here with the glowing ring around it is the part that attaches to the CPU. And to house all that component, I'm going with the NZXT H700. And the cost for this case right now on sale is $125. And the last component that I need to power this system is the power supply, made by NZXT, and that's coming in at $150. So now that we picked out all the components and we are to price them and everything, let's get a grand total of all of these components to build this new workstation of mine. And that grand total is $2,426.84, which is a whole lot cheaper than what Apple is offering for this system right here. So there you have it. Those are the components I'm going to choose to build this new Hackintosh project. So the next stage of this project is to order these parts, and once I get them in, the next video is going to entail me introducing those parts to you. Then the following videos will be building it, configuring it, putting it all together, and show you the final workstation when it's all completed. So stay tuned to the channel, subscribe if you haven't, if you want to follow me building this project. Thanks for taking the time for watching it. I look forward to see you next time. Have a good one.